All right. It is Fired Up Friday.
Ooh.
We are in Studio USA. This is Rick. Got my man Wayne.
Let's go.
And we have the fabulous Kevin and Tricia Andrews here.
Hello. Thank you for having us. Appreciate
Yes.
it.
And you are from Local Pro, and they are the DFW Real Producer Spotlight. And it is super spotlight because we reconnected at the Country Club Blowout Extravaganza.
Yes, we did.
And so how this works. So Wayne has a flight to catch. So we're gonna if you listen in 2X.
It's going to be fast,
Yes,
fired up
yes,
Friday.
it is going to be, yes. There you go. I like
There
it.
you go.
I
Yeah,
like it.
yeah.
So, mindset. So the Oracle has selected for a topic,
Ooh.
optimism. And keep your face always towards the sunshine and shadows will fall behind you.
Okay.
And that is from Walt Whitman. So, optimism, and as it plays into business, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
First thing that comes to mind for me is, and I don't know who said it the first time, but there's an unlimited negative amount of negative things in the world. Like you could find an unlimited amount of bad things in the world. And you can also find an unlimited amount of good things in the world. So you find what you go look for.
Love it.
Yeah. I agree with that. 100%. I don't know. I feel like optimism, I think I'm the right person to talk about that because I'm like the forever optimist. And it's almost like too much sometimes. I need to have that other side in my ear a little bit telling me, okay, there could be something go wrong. And I'm like, I'm never giving up. I'm going to stay optimistic all the way through. And that kind of helps, I think,
I love it.
life.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So what about
Yeah.
you, Miss Trish?
Well, your mind is what you become, and so you have a choice, and the only thing that you control are your thoughts. And if you take time and you think about your thoughts, and you think that thoughts lead to actions, and actions lead to your reality, then if you focus on having a positive mindset and being optimistic, then you will have a happier life.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
And so now the question for me would be how do you discern or tell the difference between optimism and delusion?
Yeah.
Because like I have been delusional
Yeah.
at times, and then you realize like, oh wow, why did I think that was going to work? But I think my baseline being optimism. Now, so that's a two-parter. So like optimism.
He usually likes
versus-
to ask 4 questions, and
Yeah.
you just get to pick which one you remember.
Yeah.
That's usually what happens.
Okay, I'll try back. You know what? This is why I
Yes.
haven't had my shroomy.
Ooh,
Okay.
So,
Shroomy.
yes.
Thank you, Shroomy.
Yes. So yeah, the magic mind is being delivered
Ooh.
in a couple of days.
There you
so
go.
we'll be back to the normal. But
Did
let's see
you
how this
forget
goes.
to order it on time?
Yes.
That's the one I love.
I don't know. I don't
too.
know if that's a commercial for Magic Mind or not.
You can get Magic Mind at Sprouts. You can just go pick it up.
They didn't have any left. That's why I got Shroomy. So shout out to Sprouts and
Yeah,
Shroomy.
there you go.
Yeah,
But
there
hey,
you go.
up y'all's magic mind game.
There you go.
Okay. So optimism versus delusion. While I do this.
Optimism versus delusion. So I think first off, we were all probably a little delusional to get where we are. Agreed? We're like, hey, this will be great. And you're like, meaning, had you known what you know now, would you have started what you started? Right? It's like, ooh, I don't know if I would have. You know what I mean? So I think it almost takes a little bit of delusion sometimes. But then I think that's where like the coaching comes into play. It's like, hey, I want to do this. Like that's phenomenal. Love that. What's important about it? Now let's make a plan. You know what I mean? Is that people go, hey, can I do 1,000 transactions this year? And I'm like, probably, but like let's make a plan. And if it would require you to work, 32 hours a day, like we're probably gonna need to retweak that a little bit. You know what I mean? Right. But I think it's great. I think what people underestimate though is the ability to. I'm not going to that later, I guess, but like the ability to get better at what they focus on, right? Like you're saying, like it's so important, but like I think people underestimate the training of your mind that goes into that, right? Like you train yourself to be more focused. You train yourself to what you look for and those kinds of things.
Yeah. I like to say, like, shoot for the moon because then you'll land in the stars, and that's
Yeah.
still great. But it's true. It's like, I want to do 1,000. It's like,
Yeah.
yes, you do. But do you know what that takes to do 1,000?
Yeah.
Because you need to learn the mindset and the work ethic of what it takes to do 1, and then 2, and then 5, and then 10, and then put in all of that time and effort, and then we'll get to 1,000
Yeah.
if you can do the work part of it.
Yeah.
I completely agree again with what you guys are saying. I think optimism, whenever I think about it, it's like I'm driving and I think, yes, 100%. And then once you get into the weeds of it, you're like, oh my God, what did I do to myself here? And then you figure it out. And it's like, if you're driving really slow a lot, and then driving fast is like, oh my gosh. But if you're going down the highway 80 miles an hour and you get used to going 80 miles an hour, driving 30 is not a big deal. It feels like you're going super slow, but it's something that you can grow into.
Yeah.
If you get there and you overcome all the the obstacles that are in your way, but the optimism side is what drives, and it keeps going and say, okay, well, let's just handle this next thing. Let's handle this next thing, and it keeps that optimism alive, I think. And then sometimes, in my case, it keeps it alive too long. It's like whenever the deal is gone or the thing is not going to really work, I'm like, I really want it to keep going.
Yeah.
And so that's why I surround myself with great folks who keep me checked in reality.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what it is. That's
Yeah.
what helps me stay.
Because sometimes there
on
are
the path.
necessary endings.
Yeah.
Sometimes there are because there's this mindset like go, never give up, never give up, never give up,
Yeah.
which I love.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like stop, right? Like,
Okay.
but I think that's hard. It's hard to determine. I love what you said because I think it's really hard for us to self-determine.
Right.
Right. So like you're so spot on with that. With like, hey, like you need to bring other people on. Like, hey, am I just wimping out or is this really not working?
Right.
Yeah. Well, people always say, you overestimate what you can do in 1 year, but you do underestimate what you can do in 5.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Yep.
So now all of us have rebooted several times. And so like, I was a mortgage guy in a previous life. And so for you guys to reboot, now do you go into that like optimistic, like wide-eyed, or, how do you blend the practical with the sort of like, woo, like the pep rally stuff?
I just yell plot twist
Yeah.
and just see what happens. I'm like, plot twist. Right now. I love it. Yeah. What do y'all do?
We went into it thinking that this was going to be like a 3-year thing that's going to take us this long. So we had pretty realistic expectations because we've kind of gone down this road before, and we've done the grind of getting to the place where we're getting to now. Going through it again, it's like, oh, I remember this is the really hard part. This is the
So for the
really
folks at home,
difficult-
what are you doing right now? For anyone that doesn't know.
So I partnered with Dina Custer and then Kevin and her husband to form Local Pro Realty. And I've been doing real estate since 2005, and I've worked for several different companies, and I've learned so much along the way. And I just needed a little bit of motivation to like go out on my own. And so we partnered together and we had a plan. And so we launched that in September.
Yep.
And then we just celebrated 100 agents. And we're not looking to be the biggest, the best of whatever, but we were excited that 100 people have joined us.
So I can't help but ask this question. Like the first time you went through it, it was hard enough.
Yeah.
And you're like, let's
Yeah.
do it again, right?
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like moving, I think. Like you forget how terrible moving is.
Yeah, moving
And then like
yeah.
5 years later, you're like, we should move. And then you're like, no, we should never move again. Then
Yeah.
5 years later, right? But like, how did you, first off, what caused you to start your own? Why do you think that the market needed another one? What do you guys bring to the table? And what allowed you to get excited enough to go do it again?
Yeah. Well, I've learned a lot. Like, when everyone says, like, you have to become valid, like, you have to learn what you're doing to have validity. And so over the years, I was just stubborn, and I was like, that's not true. I can just do it, whatever, and then fail and fail and fail. And you have to fail to win.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where, at this point, I was like, I feel like the market is shifting from brand awareness to individual, like the real estate companies need to change their mindset from you come and work for me to what can the company do for the agents to help the agents become better at what they do and
Yeah.
get more business and do whatever. And it's hard for corporations and big franchises to shift that. And I feel like if you can kind of do that in a smaller setting, then you can have more impact with more people, and that's what I wanted to do. I've always been about helping people build things and build their businesses, grow their, whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
That's the first question I ask is like, what is your goal for yourself, or what do you see yourself doing, and then how can I help you get there?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I finally just jumped off the deep end and said, we're going to try this. And that's what we did.
Okay, so whose idea was it? Like, who comes home and goes, hey, what do you think about this?
Well, we talked about it for a really long time, and then she was like, what are we going to do this? So I said, okay, today.
Here we
Let's
go.
go. Let's go. Today.
the
Go
trigger.
ahead. She's like, it's going to
Yeah.
be this. It's going to be hard. And I'm like, okay, we've talked about it enough. Let's go.
I mean, we
And
started
so-
it in 2014, and we didn't implement it until September of
So we've been
2023.
planning it for quite a while, and then it started with the name even, Local Pro. That's what our whole concept is say super hyper local and coach our people to become hyper local, and that's how you can influence people and train people to become that expert specifically in your neighborhood first, and then kind of grow from there.
Love
but
it.
that's the basis of what we really want our team and our people to understand and do.
And that's brilliant. And the irony of today's digital world, where it's like, okay, we can open up our phones and look at somebody live on the other side of the earth right now. The idea of hyper local and actually being an expert and talking about where you are is almost like a foreign concept.
Yeah.
Where I think that is going to be huge, especially so, like, my little philosophy is I want the agent to be the rock star, or I want the client to be the rock star, because it's kind of small business, for everybody. But in y'all's world of real estate agents, I mean, that is such a game changer. And the idea of, if you are a local pro, well, then anybody that comes behind you, I mean, they got to bring their A, B, and C game, you know? And so now, do you guys have a specific strategy that, like, you implement with each person, or?
Well, so going back to the everybody's connected now. Well, when you go to social media and you're like, hey, I need a plumber, like, you look at everybody who wrote down a plumber and you're like, who do I trust? Like, who do I know that, they might just be saying this because you don't know what you don't know about, because there's so many choices. So if you can create the relationship with your clients and your friends in your neighborhood, that you're the one that has vetted these people. You work with plumbers, you work with roofers, you work with all of these vendors, that they should come to you when they ask for questions, or you should have some, they should trust you in referring these people. I think that's big. That's going to be big. I mean, it used to be big back in the day, and then it went social media blow up, and now we're like, do we really trust that? Now we need to bring it back down to, like, okay, we can trust this.
Full circle.
So it's hard to do that, but like you were asking a second ago, if what we want our people to do, we want everybody to play to their own strengths, but we want them to be focused on the hyper-local thing. And then I was just talking to a group of agents the other day. I was like, what about bringing community back to your neighborhood? Do you remember in the neighborhood we had block parties? And that was just a fun thing. There's just you knew everybody on your street. Right now, do you? Do you know your neighbor, or two people passed? You got to know everybody in the neighborhood, and then bring those community events back at least quarterly and try to guide folks to do those things, and then the real things happen. And talk about, the online world. It's taking the online conversation offline and making it more personal and making it real. That's where the magic happens, I believe.
I love it. Well, and I used to teach RPR for NAR, and one of the things there was like, oh, it's the data, it's the da-da-da-da-da, whatever. And one of my sort of tenets was always, the realtor's job is no longer the gatekeeper of the data. Right. They're now the arbiter of the data. It's like, no, I'm and I try to get them to be like, you be the filter.
Yeah,
you become
interpreter.
Interpreter.
Yep.
I love it.
So, I have a question. So, do you think optimism plays a role in the success of your agents or not?
100%.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, I was curious, how do you help your agents become more optimistic?
Be the cooler.
Yeah.
Be the calmest person in the room. And that helps, because if you get heated, right? Whenever you're in a situation, every time you're managing the situation, and things get hot. Things get hot with the other agent on the other side. Things get hot with the client. Things are unrealistic expectations are coming in your way. And in order to be successful, in my experience, is to be the calmest person in the room and bring that noise level down, and then try to create that optimism in the group.
Yeah.
And then make sure, hey, it's just all I'm going to do is carry you on to the next step. Let's just get beyond this to the next step, and we're going to stay optimistic, and we're going to make it to the end.
Yeah.
And so that's how I try to help other folks, is because that's the way it's been working for me.
Yeah.
And so
And leaders need to teach or influence people how to think. And so we spend a lot of time on like on Mondays we have Local Pro Live, and we do a motivational moment, and we share our small wins, and we share our opportunities, and from sharing those things helps others that are listening relate to that, and they learn faster. And so we love that. We also podcasts, reading books, we have a really good community where you can reach out for others for support. I always say, your job as a realtor is to provide options, not opinions. So if you have an opinion that you want to talk to someone about, then call a coworker or one of us, and
I
let's
love
talk
that.
through it before you go to your client with your suggestions.
And,
So
and back to what you said, I think it's so true. One of the biggest mistakes I see, because I get to coach a lot of teams and brokerages, right? But one of the biggest mistakes is we're teaching, most people, unlike you, are teaching mindsets reactively. Right? It's like somebody screwed up. They're like, okay, let me teach you about how to be not be a victim, right? But like they're doing all these things reactively. And I think one of the most actually, I just finished building out this course where it's videos and everything else, like that a team leader could play at their team meeting. Here's the questions to ask, and here's the thing to do. But I built that out because it's like, here's the 12 mindsets you have to teach your team, and let's teach these proactively. And by the way, not just one time, right? But here's a team. Let's figure out what those mindsets are and teach them proactively to your agents. Because so much of the coaching I find is usually reactive. It's like you screwed it up, so now let me teach you how to think, and it's so painful to do it that way.
Yeah.
I love the idea of being proactive because my whole life I was reactive, and it was like stuff was happening to me
Yes.
versus, stuff is just happening,
Yeah.
and then it's like maybe if you took a little bit of action prior to stuff happening, you might have a little bit more influence.
Yeah.
So now my question on the optimism in the team building, because it's like I'm right in the middle of the team building exercise.
Humans are so easy too. Right? So uncomplicated.
Oh, yeah.
But we
Yeah,
don't have
there's-
any of our stuff going on.
Yeah. It's like, and everybody just lines up with your vision.
Absolutely,
And it's like,
yeah.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
But on the hypothetical situation where that wouldn't happen, I've had friends, relatives, et cetera, that just skewed negative. And like the whole thing of like, well, maybe I'm too optimistic and I don't cut bait early enough or whatever. I have gotten better at that, but I still have a hard time just essentially saying like, okay, we're done, internally, not necessarily out loud or to the individual. But do you guys filter for that ahead of time as far as try to sort by, because like on the team building side, sorting by personality it's almost like an experiment. So like every Friday we go for tacos after we do the shows. And
I
so,
never get invited to the taco part, by the way. I feel like do I need to take it up with Stuart? Who do I or do I file a complaint, by the way?
the customer service is they're holding for your call right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
But there's a part of that where it's like a petri dish, where it's like, so do you guys do stuff like that where you get people like not just put them in a room and like let's see if they fight, but do you sort of filter for? I guess it's like compatibility. It's almost like this weird dating environment.
we find that if you are of a negative mindset, those people don't like to be around positive people a lot. So it kind of works itself out. Either they kind of get more positive or optimistic. Some of them are realist and, that's just personality styles. But the real negative and the drama and the people that bring all of the, gossipy things don't like to be around other people that don't do that.
Yeah.
So they find other places to go.
Well, it's kind of
Yeah.
judged by who we keep, not who we hire, right?
Right.
Because like sometimes they may have just been in a really terrible
Yeah.
environment, and once they're in your petri dish for a little while,
Yes.
that adjusts. Yeah.
And we're hoping for that. We're
Yeah.
hoping
Yeah.
to like influence people to
Yeah.
come with
It's kind
us.
of nice to not be a jerk all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to not just talk negative crap all the time. Yeah.
Right. Hire slow, fire fast.
Yep.
That's a
Yep.
good thing.
I love it.
Just go slow whenever you're
Yep.
picking people out. But as Tricia was stating, I think it's kind of a self-discovery journey with those folks. Is either they can, if you guide by example and you live
Yeah.
it, then you attracts like, and
Yeah.
that's what you wind up being around. Ultimately, they just gravitate toward you
Yeah.
as you wind up with great people.
Yeah.
And so I think that's
And I think it's important to like have your values written down. Here's who we are, whatever it is. But like you said, if that's not who you are, it doesn't matter what you wrote on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like I think it's important to have it written down. Like here's who we are, here's who we believe. But so I mean, Enron had really nice stuff written down. You know what I mean? They're like, hey, we're a company of whatever, and
Right.
they kind of weren't. But you go back to one of my favorite questions is asking people, how lucky do you think you've been in life? Because the negative people will tell you, oh man, it's been terrible. Like the world, I've survived up to this point. You know what I mean? Like they'll kind of give you that kind of version. And the other people will be like, man, I've been hit by the teeth, but I'll tell you what, here's what happened. And here's what I learned, and here's what that led to, right? So like that, I love that one question in interviewing, how lucky, on a scale of 1 to 10, how lucky do you think you've been? and their answer to that, the internal optimist in a sense will be like, man, 7, 8, 9. The internal pessimist will be like, 2, 3, 4. And then they'll go on to share why, but it is such a revealing question.
I'm totally going to ask that question
Yeah,
from
I
now
love
on when I
that.
interview people.
I love that question, and I've been asked that question. My answer is I don't believe in luck. I believe you.
Well, now we, okay,
believe-
all right.
I believe-
all right,
I
there-
believe
Back the
you
truck
put
up.
And,
your-
yep, this has been great. You're now the host.
I believe that you put yourself in front of opportunity.
Yeah,
The harder
yeah.
you work, the more opportunity comes your way because
Yeah.
you're out. You're hustling
Yeah.
and you create your luck.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
my answer
No,
is.
I agree. Whoever said it the first time, like, I believe luck is preparedness meets opportunity,
There you
right?
go.
So, like, you've done the work to take advantage of this really cool,
100%.
Yeah.
Well, and to tie that into the optimism thing, because it's like human nature is what it is, and I can retroactively have a meaning that it doesn't necessarily have.
Let me tell you why I got that speeding ticket.
Yeah.
He was trying to tell me.
Yeah, or the reason I was successful was because of that thing that happened when I was 7. And it's like, maybe I don't know, but my knee jerk is like I'm like an 11 on the scale of luck,
Yeah.
as
Right.
like chaotic and
Yeah.
ridiculous
Awesome.
as whatever. But in reality, there is the thing of, and I think this ties into optimism, where like I went to so many things and just suit up and show up, and I went to so much stuff that just sucked.
Yeah.
And I just kept going.
You live through it.
And then like the cool stuff happens where like I bump into y'all at the Glen Eagles, and then here we are,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it goes back to that whole like the local pro idea of the vetted, I was there because I was one of the vetted businesses, and then y'all are there because y'all are real producers, so it just all fit in. But if I hadn't have gone to all the things that like I went, and like I would tell my guys, like, oh, we'll go one time, and if it sucks, we won't go back.
Right.
So hey, if I've ever come to 2 of your things or whatever, they don't suck. But I love the idea of having the baseline of being optimistic, and what is it? If it doesn't kill me, it'll make me stronger.
Something like
If it
that,
doesn't-
yeah,
Maybe if it
yeah.
just
Yeah.
doesn't kill me, it doesn't kill me.
Yeah,
There you go.
who knows?
But I know Wayne's got to go take a flight,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're gonna have Trish come back later for Winning Women's Wednesday. And thank you guys. Any parting words?
Appreciate it.
Any plug for Local Pro? Or
We totally appreciate y'all having us come in today. We're honored to be here, and we love it. This is awesome. This is a lot of fun. We just want more things like this because this is a good conversation, and this is what we want to get out there to other folks. And that's
Let me
great.
ask you 2 lightning round questions real quick.
gosh.
First, what would be your one piece of advice to new agents right now in this real estate market environment?
I always that's an easy one. Your database. If you
Love
don't don't own your database and you don't nurture.
So if you were brand
and
new to a
grow it,
town, how would you grow your database?
How
Yeah, if
meet
you're
people.
brand new.
Get out and meet every single
Figure it out.
person.
Yep.
Interview everybody you can. Talk to them, and don't just go eat dinner and not have
Yep.
a conversation with the person who owns the place.
What are agents pretending not to know right now, especially the more seasoned ones? What are they pretending not to know?
Good question.
Ooh,
I
yeah.
don't know.
Or what are they avoiding that they, maybe that's another way to look at it. Like, what do they know they should be doing that they're not doing?
Well, in a market like this, you have to double down on your
Yep.
lead gen. Obviously, that's the
100%.
first thing to do. That's what you have to
Yep.
do whenever things start to get slow. As you figure out, you reverse engineer your goals, and then
Yep.
you know how many days and minutes you have to be making those connections. And it doesn't have to be just phone calls. You have to be working in your zone of what makes you feel, happy, where you get your energy. That's what
Yeah.
Tricia always talks about, is where your energy comes from. If you stay in that area, you're going to find where your niche is.
Love
And
it.
don't try to do too many things. If
Amen to that.
You have so many lead levers out there,
Yep.
and if you
Choose a
try to
couple and
pull
nail 'em.
all of them, then you're not going to get good at any of them. So great. Dial in on what your lead lever is and get proficient and become an expert at that.
Yeah.
Be
All
the
right.
local pro.
Last question.
Let me answer the first
oh,
one. I've
sure,
been
go
thinking
for it.
about
Go
it
for it. Okay.
Okay, what I was
We got
telling
an answer.
new agents and seasoned agents is you are your employee and
Yep.
you're the owner. So if you treat this business like you have a job and you are the owner of your business, so would your owner or would your manager approve of the activities that you did today
Yeah.
as an employee? And think of it like that every day.
Absolutely. What's the best thing you guys have done to keep your relationship strong, going through all the business ups and downs and everything else?
Good
Being
Lord.
married.
That's hard.
Somebody told us the other day, they were
I'm
like,
sure it's been super
it's
easy."
cheaper to keep her.
Yeah. Marriage is
No.
grand, divorce is $100,000.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah.
or a couple.
I think
Can confirm.
learning to stay in our lanes, staying in my own lane is like I've come into. I still sell real estate every day. I'm on the, I run my team. I do that, and she is.
So you guys
really
kind of
managing
clarified,
the whole
you
team.
do this, and I think, and I would 100% support that. I think that's
I
really
think
true.
we've been married almost 22 years now, and I've kind of figured out where my lane is, which lane she put me in, and then I'm gonna stay there and then let her run with her side of
She's
things.
like, we could have done
That's
it
where
in 2
it's at.
months, but here we are.
Yeah, it took us a long time to figure it out, but yeah,
that's great.
it's more about staying in your own lane and
Right.
just let people do what their strengths, lean to their strengths, stay with that, and then
Love
that,
it.
and we pretty much know where we fall in the strength category. So that's,
like
I think
that.
that's how it works for us.
Yep, we're really good friends, and that, he works his thing, and then I work mine, and they overlap, and that's great, and it's super fun
Love it.
to build things together. But we also, like, he's the most patient person ever, and I tend to be a little bit not
Extra.
Yeah,
that
I'm a
what
little
we say?
extra. But he's
You're a
like
little
he
hot,
said
yeah.
a minute
Habanero,
ago.
yeah.
He's cool. He's a cooler. He knows how to tell me to take a minute or whatever I need. So
It's awesome. Last question for you, Rick.
Oh, all right.
People need to do two things. They need to there we go. They need to shake hands, but they also need to put their name up in lights. So tell them about USA real quick here. Studio USA. I'm going to
So-
force you to give yourself a plug.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're welcome.
Appreciate that. So the basic idea here is content creation at scale.
Yeah.
So it's like, so Kevin and Tricia were here for the first time. Well, we'll turn the lights on and show all the gimmicks here in a second. But the idea is if you could come in and we will help you formulate the plan. So in the real estate world, for like $3.99 or whatever, you come in for 90 minutes in the studio and we will make the evergreen content. So the stars don't have to align for you to go shoot something on location.
Yeah.
We control time, space, sound, lights, the whole 9 yards here. We can make it look like you're anywhere. And then the other thing is we will dial into, my biggest thing is what's on the label matches what's in the can. And we want to pull the personality out of the person, So then that way the video is sort of like halfway of the sales transaction, like get you to 49%. But then the idea is when they meet you, they feel like they know you.
Right.
So that's sort of like the underlying.
Yeah, well, and
thesis.
that's you're not paying me to give you a plug, but I wanted to make sure that people got that because I think right now most agents they need to do two things. They need to put their name up in lights, like they need to do the video and the Instagram and the social and all that stuff, right? Like that you can help them facilitate, and they need to shake hands. So it's not one or the other. They need to do both things. But the thing that I think people need to understand, especially about what you're doing here, is that you're not just doing the video, you're also doing the coaching. And like, hey, what's your story? That's not your real voice. Okay, let's do that one more time. Like you're walking them through how to tell their story, how to show up on camera, how to connect with their audience in a great way. So
Thank
come in
you.
here, screw up a bunch, and then
Yeah.
walk away with something that looks freaking amazing.
I agree with that
Well, there you go.
100%. He makes you feel comfortable when
Yeah.
you're behind that when you're in front of the
I
camera.
had Kevin stand in a boat one time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm like robot trying to make it sound right, and then he's like, "Calm down, bro. Just simmer down. Just be you, and then it'll come out better." And it was like, this is it. So thank you.
And so now
Yeah.
we've got a facility where we don't have a boat to go get in.
Yeah.
We don't have, it doesn't have to be a boat to go get into. We can actually make it look like you're in a boat.
There you go.
Boom.
And with that, we will have Peter take us out.